Hello my friends, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to create this beautiful fall inspired flip book created with the fall break collection from Cartabella, as well as trims from Really Reasonable Ribbon and flowers from Little Birdie Crafts. So stick with me and we'll make this together. I'm working with the fall break collection today. This is from Cartabella. I picked this up from the Echo Park warehouse sale. I really love all of the updated, fresher holiday colors in this collection. It has some beautiful blues and some very vintagey images, as well as some stylized leaf patterns. So it's vintage but also updated, and the paper quality is so nice from Cartabella. It's very thick, has a really lovely texture to it. So this collection has a variety of pattern papers and also a sticker sheet and some journal cut apart. So I'm going to be using a little bit of all of these things, and I am trying hard to get more into these sticker sheets. Like I said, I think that I just haven't really used this resource enough, so I am really working hard to utilize those. So let's work on the base for this flip book. So for the outside cover, I have two pieces. These are both cut from 110-pound cardstock. They are both 6 inches tall. The first one is 8.5 inches. I have it scored at 4 inches, and then at 4.5, that gives me two 4-inch pages with a 1/2 inch spine. And then my second piece is going to be 8.25. Same thing as the first one. I have two 4-inch pages. This side has a 1/4 inch spine, and that will help to accommodate the bulk of the layering I'm adding inside. So because it is longer than a 12-inch sheet, I did have to make plans to join them. So I've just put my adhesive tape on the back of the smaller side, and I'm layering that right on top and lining it up. It's very easy to get this square and even because all of the heights are the same. So you just have to line it up at the bottom. So here's the flip portion. Now for the inside, I want to add real estate by including some folded inserts. So I have three. So I have 3 of these folded inserts. They are 4 inches wide, and then I used the full width of a 12 by 12 sheet of 65-pound weight cardstock so that I could score it in the middle. So they are going to be 6 by 4 when they're folded of this, and once again I'm just lining that up with the corner, and that is going to begin adding our layers for extra thickness and sturdiness. I have one for each portion here, and here is the last side. So here are my 2 flips to open, and then 3 flips on the inside as well. So now we have quite a lot of space to cover, and it makes sense to me to go ahead and cover the back before you add any of the layers. So here's that beautiful plaid from the collection, and I have matted all of my layers with the same green cardstock just for a nice consistent look, as well as adding additional paper layers for it to be more bulky. So this is going to show on the back, and here is the first page you'll see when you open it that isn't a flip on this side. So I'm going to use the same plaid as on the back cover, and I'm going to add my pocket. I have shown you in many previous videos that I do like to add my pockets around the outside so that it leaves me lots of room on the inside to tuck in my inserts or tags or small flat keepsakes. So here is that fold around the back side, and now I can add this as one piece to this book page. It always helps me to flip these around so that I have this side facing me. Get it lined up a little bit easier that way. And I do want to cover the front of this pocket with an alternate pattern so that I can begin building some interest. So I have this cut so that it is reaching the same width as the pattern paper inside the pocket, and I've got to remember to leave that small border of green cardstock here so that it looks finished. Here's one of the stickers from the sticker sheet, and that's just a beautiful collection of the fall gourds and some apples and leaves. And I just clipped one of the pretty journal cut aparts for this insert, and I like the back, so there's no need to do anything to that. It looks perfect just the way it is. So that is my first page that you see when you open the book. So let's fold it all the way out and work on this inside page. So I picked my same cardstock matting and some of the pretty pattern paper. I'm going to only finish this bottom portion this time because I don't have as much room in this flip book as I usually do, so I can't add additional layers of matting and paper to the top, but that does leave me with a nice amount of room to add writing or journaling. So let's just go ahead and finish off the bottom portion of these folded inserts and close them back up and work on the fronts. So for this side, I have another of the pattern papers from the collection. I'm still using that same beautiful green matting, and now I'm going to bring in a tip-in. This is one of the cut aparts from that sheet, and it's very interesting. This particular sheet had different size cut aparts on the same page, so it is a little bit more interesting to have different sizes. It was a little more difficult to cut these out with the paper trimmer, but I have succeeded, thankfully, and I've added it to more of that cardstock, and I'm just going to secure that tip-in portion on the back so I can sandwich it between the book base. And on the inside, I finished it with the pattern that I put on the inside of this folded insert. So this will go right here along the side. Got one of the stickers from that sticker sheet as well to add just right here to the pocket, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the green border that is already there and just line that right up. So fall is fun, and it has that cute vintagey scarecrow. For the next two pages, I'm gonna go ahead and use that same pattern across because they all show at once. So for me, that just makes it look a little bit more cohesive. So let's drop this one here. This will be our center page. Okay, for this very right-hand side, I am adding a second tip-in, more of that fun vintagey image, and another one of the stickers. So this one says bonfire, which is absolutely perfect for fall. Here in mid-Michigan, we definitely do enjoy our fire pit when it gets cold outside. Okay, now let's do the center portion, and I want to just add a bit of a picture frame, sort of a area for a special picture to land. So I've clipped out a doily from just white cardstock, and then I used my circle die to clip part of the tree image from the border strip from that collection, and that fits really nicely into the center of that doily. And I'm gonna finish this off with this sentiment from the sticker sheet, and as I do, I'm just going to align that right on up to the side so that I know it's square and level. And then this last one was a tag, and I think it makes a nice place to add a tuck spot if there is an image that you want to add that you don't want to add adhesive to the back of. So it's nice to have an area that doesn't have all the adhesive going all the way up. So this just becomes a tab, and I'm gonna place it closer to the bottom so that a larger picture can be added. Maybe not one quite this large, but you see, then you can just tuck your image right in there and then remove it, and you've not adhered it permanently to the book. So that's one good way to preserve some handwriting or memories that are written on the back. So here is our folds, and I want to add my trim now before I go any further. This is beautiful gold ribbon from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and this satin ribbon works very well because once you've cut your angle, it isn't going to fray. Here is the ribbon just run right down the middle of that book, and I'm temporarily tacking this into place with just a little bit of this double-sided adhesive so that it doesn't shift. What will be holding it mostly is the adhesive for the cover. So let's build this cover first, and then we can add it to our book. I've got that beautiful green check again, or blue. It's kind of bluey green. I don't really know what to call it. If you know, you can let me know in the comments. I think it's more green than blue, but the other one was more blue than green, so I think it's just whatever you're used to calling it. And then there's also a companion stripe in that collection, and this truthfully reminds me of our chair cushions for our patio set, but it does have all the right fall colors in it, and it looks pretty layered over that check because it has a very different scale. It isn't going to be busy looking because it's not a lot of tiny prints put together. So let's just go ahead and finish off the bottom here, and I'm gonna work this all the way from side to side because I want to utilize the matting. So let's add this, and I'm still using that same green cardstock border, and it's a good time to add this now before we add any of the dimensional layers so that I can get this on very straight and even. The back of this cardstock is kind of funny looking, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to open the book toward myself this way so I can make sure I've got my ribbon right where I want it and line this up from the side. I like how it matches the back. Let's go ahead and add our next layer. So I have another of that pretty doily, and I picked this up from Amazon. I'm not really quite sure the brand. But I did cut it from a nice crisp white cardstock to help me break up some of these paper layers. So I'm going to position this a little bit lower because I have a layering element to bring in, and I need to leave room for that. And then here's that dot pattern again, and you can see how this is going to coordinate so nicely with the ribbon. And I'm putting that one up on a spacer. So here's a layer of dimension that we can bring in. It's the same die from the previous photo mat, but instead of leaving this for photo, I'm going to go ahead and finish it with one of the stickers from the sticker sheet. Isn't that the most absolutely beautiful fall gourd or pumpkin? I'm going to add this off of the edge of my raised portion. So I have used layers of the adhesive foam tabs so that I can get it straight onto the book and it will be level. Because these stickers are not as sturdy as regular cardstock, I did go ahead and adhere that to cardstock and cut it back out so that it will hold a nice shape and not be fragile. So here is my pumpkin with the pretty fall leaves. And as I mentioned before, I'm leaving room at the top for my small sentiment banner. So this was part of that sticker sheet. And I know that part of this is going to be supported by that raised portion and some of it is not. So I have put my adhesive foam tabs only on the very top portion. And I'm just going to start sort of laying these in place without squishing them. I want to make sure that I have these positioned just how I want, and I don't have any of the fragile pieces hanging off the side so that it will not become damaged. So this looks good to me right here. This is a nice shape. I'll just press that one in and then work from left to right so that I get all of my positioning correct. This is a pretty font for fall. I think it makes it a little bit more vintagey feeling. Here is my last banner portion. I'm putting that to make sure that I keep that nice curve at the top. And that will be acting as my sentiment. For my flower arrangement, I did bring in some pre-made fall leaves. I usually like to die cut my foliage, but I had some here left over from Prima from last year, and they just worked so perfectly. It's that beautiful gold color, and then one that's a little bit like mocha, so I think that goes really well with the printed images here. I've layered up some green leaves as well, just to help fill in some twine bows, and these are actually Christmas flowers from Little Birdie Crafts. They matched so perfectly. I was so excited to find these in my stash. And then I just layered on one additional white flower with some gold trim. It ties in with my ribbon trim and then also gives it a little bit of sparkle. So I'm just going to put this here at the bottom. It's not my normal positioning for flowers. I usually like to curve them, but I do need to leave a little room for my charm. So this is going cover to cover, basically all the way across the bottom. I don't want to cover too much of that pretty pumpkin image, so I don't mind keeping this pretty low. So here is my flowers in place. Got a couple of vintage buttons. I'm going to adhere them right up here to the corner, and that will help fill in a little bit of this negative space created by the curve of that banner. Last button for this corner. And as I mentioned before, I've got a couple of fall charms here, just a little pumpkin with a leaf and then a larger, more skeleton kind of leaf, and I want to do this as a single piece so that I get all of these layers positioned right where I want them. So I'll hold these in place and add my glue, remove the remainder of these tails. Then I'll just top those strings with one more vintage button. So that's all for our fall themed mini flip book. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and leave me a comment. Remember, you can find links to these products and our social media sites in the description box below. If you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell notification so you'll be alerted every time we add new content. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.